So again, this further would, I think, push towards consolidation into the larger companies who have the wherewithal to do it. That's not great for the consumer, but it's just the reality of the cost of doing business, and it's increasing dramatically. If it continues down this path, yeah, it would be very interesting if you saw triple-digit silver, where you're talking $50,000 for a monster box. Yeah, it's getting tough, but triple digit silver really isn't that crazy anymore. Keith Neumeyer was the first one to talk about it, and when you look at the fundamentals behind it, it's not that outlandish to say that. Well, look, it's important to remember that even with the sharp correction we saw, silver is still up between 65 and 70% this year. And I mean, I don't know how many assets rank higher than that. But when you have any asset that appreciates in a parabolic manner 40% in 2 months, a correction is inevitable. This is what overbought is. And, you know, it shouldn't come as a surprise to people. And I think that certainly is something that's hard to rationalize for us gold and silver bugs, because we've waited so long and feel that, you know, that the market should have done this a long time ago, gotten to these levels. But suffice it to say, this is a very high stakes game where some of the biggest institutions on the planet got caught very much offside, and were, actually looking at what could ultimately be a existential threat to their survival. And so they did an awful lot to slow down the rise. But here we are again, back up over $1 plus and back up over 50. And maybe it's because silver is now a critical mineral. We've been talking about that for a long time now. Now it's official. Maybe it's the realization that it's irreplaceable, that it's the most conductive element known to science, the lifeblood of energy and data and power itself. Who knows? But the bottom line is that with the U.S. government calling it a strategic mineral, they've put a floor under the price, and they will, I think, start to purchase it. At the same time, you have the Chinese Ministry of Commerce. Their name is, the acronym is MOFCOM, Chinese Ministry of Commerce, has issued new rules regarding the state-traded exports of a few different commodities, including silver. So they are doing the same thing. They aim to step up, if you will, the protection of resources, and that means curtailing exports in 2026. And look, when you realize that the largest refiner of silver in the world, China, is restricting exports and has announced starting in 2026, all silver exports will require individual government licenses from Beijing. To me, this move classifies silver as a resource of national interest, not just to the United States, but signaling a strategic shift towards state-managed supply, including places like China. It's a big deal. It's a very, very big deal. And I think the bottom line is silver is being redefined from an industrial metal into a geopolitical resource, or into a strategic element, not just in the United States, but all over the place.
Recent policy changes signal a major shift. Silver is no longer just a commodity. It has been officially labeled a critical mineral in the United States, solidifying its status as indispensable for national security, energy systems, and advanced manufacturing. Simultaneously, China, home to the world's largest silver refinery, has imposed export controls beginning in 2026. Shipments will require special government authorization, marking a clear move toward resource protectionism. Both nations are repositioning silver as a strategic resource, not merely an industrial input. This reclassification places a firm price floor under the metal and strengthens long-term demand.
It will consolidate into more major dealers, or those smaller dealers would consolidate, in my opinion, because the cost of maintaining an inventory is becoming exponentially more expensive. And with that, you have insurance and shipping and all of the things involved. it's expensive. It's much more expensive than it was to hedge a position at higher levels. Takes away some of that risk. But most of the smaller coin companies or local coin shops don't hedge their exposure. So it's a big deal. You have a large inventory of silver, and the volatility that we've seen where it can fall 15-20% in a short period of time. That's enough to really scare a lot of these coin shops out of business. I think it's an interesting thought experiment, but my guess is the higher the price of metals go. I mean, look at gold. A tube of gold eagles now is well north of $80,000. And so how much gold can you really have as a local coin shop? Not only from a standpoint of maintaining an inventory, you better have millions of dollars to use, but insurance and shipping and all of that stuff, it's becoming a lot harder. When gold was $1,000 an ounce, I remember my father-in-law sending me a text message, "Congratulations, so gold's finally over $1,000." Well, back then, it wasn't too long ago. A tube of gold eagles is just over 20,000. It's gone up 4 times, and that's just one tube. So you want to have 500 ounces of gold in stock as a local coin shop? I mean, how much money do you have? And then you add silver and platinum and the cost of insurance and whatnot. It's a tough deal, I think. The higher it goes, the fewer the choices, if I had to guess, you'll find.
As silver prices rise, the entire physical market ecosystem is being reshaped. Holding inventory has become costly for small dealers, with volatility threatening to wipe out unhedged shops overnight. Insurance, shipping fees, and capital requirements have ballooned, making it harder for smaller operations to survive. Meanwhile, high premiums on gold coins and American silver eagles push many investors toward alternative products like junk silver, rounds, or foreign mint coins. As metals reach new price territory, consolidation becomes inevitable, favoring large, well-capitalized distributors. The higher silver climbs, the more restrictive and expensive the physical market becomes.
It's real. I mean, we probably do as much shipping as anyone in the United States on that's not a fair statement. Our shipping with Federal Express is as robust as it can be without being someone like Amazon. And so we get all of the discounts that you would get and have all of the insurance that you could get. And, we still don't put more than $150,000 of product in a particular package. You try to ship it by registered mail, the most they'll give you is $50,000. So if you can only do $50,000 by registered mail, you're not even doing a tube of gold eagles. And, that's challenging. The costs are getting more expensive. You look at companies like FedEx, their costs are going up. It's tough. So prices will go up. Insurance will go up. It's real for sure. So again, this further would, I think, push towards consolidation into the larger companies who have the wherewithal to do it. That's not great for the consumer, but it's just the reality of the cost of doing business. And it's increasing dramatically. If it continues down this path, it would be very interesting if you saw triple-digit silver, where you're talking $50,000 for a monster box. It's getting tough, but triple-digit silver really isn't that crazy anymore. Keith Neumeyer was the first one to talk about it, and when you look at the fundamentals behind it, it's not that outlandish to say that.
What once sounded outrageous, silver at $100 or more, now sits within the realm of possibility. Industry leaders have long argued that fundamental shortages, rising industrial demand, and geopolitical resource competition would push silver far above historical norms. Junk silver, often overlooked, now stands out as excellent value thanks to low premiums and high utility. Meanwhile, products like bars and premium coins face supply bottlenecks, import constraints, and rising costs. If silver's explosive trajectory continues, the physical market will face unprecedented pressures, making certain forms of silver increasingly scarce, while pushing prices toward levels few once believed achievable.
Junk silver is not sexy. It's not. It's dimes, quarters, and half dollars minted prior to 65. But where I say it's the best value, if you can do anything at or near spot, which junk silver is, or maybe a little over, but not much, you're buying something that is the best value with no opportunity costs, with no added premium attached. And you put that in reference or measure it against where it's been in the past. Um, during the pandemic, because of its utility and its divisibility, the premiums were second only to American Eagles. And the U.S. Mint has been the model of inefficiency for a long time. And I ask people to listen to Vic Swear's interview with Jack. Jack. What's Jack's last name? I forgot Jack's last name. It'll come to me in a moment. But Jack Sermon. Jack Sermon developed the Silver Eagle program at the U.S. Mint, and Bix did a 3-part interview with him a couple of years ago. I remember almost falling off my chair, where he said he was approached by, at the time, his boss, which would have been the Secretary of Treasury, Janet Yellen, who told him to make as few Silver Eagles as possible without creating a global backlash. I mean, he actually said that. That the primary distributors came to him with far more demand than they could fill. Like they wanted another 36 million and they gave him 12. And he said it really bothered him. So, there's a fine line between conspiracy and reality with the U.S. Mint. I would prefer Silver Eagles all day long, with many of these states looking at silver coins made in the U.S. as legal tender. But the premiums on Silver Eagles, on Gold Buffaloes, are crazy right now. And moving in that direction again. The fact that junk silver hasn't followed it the way that it did during the pandemic is testament to the fact that things aren't breaking apart for everyone to notice. This is just those who follow the U.S. Mint and their lack of capacity. But if I were going to say what is normally, I would say bars. But due to the threats all along this year of tariffs, the bar industry, or the products that are associated with silver bars, they're coming largely from Switzerland. And with Pam Swiss and Valcambi and others, they weren't imported very much. And so the premiums are higher on them than I like. Maybe 1 ounce rounds, those come from domestic refiners here, would be the next best. Or maybe even there are some coins like the 2026 Silver Kangaroo that we have in stock, or some of the other coins that are not American Eagles, but are of the other 6 major mints, the Krugerrands, the Britannias, the Philharmonics. They're right there. And because the bar market is inflated, I skip it. So it would either be junk silver, 1 ounce rounds, or coins from probably not even the Maple Leaf, which is getting inflated again. It would be South Africa, Australia, UK. To me, would probably be the 3 that would stick out as being a good value right now.
Silver's role in solar technology, electric vehicles, data transmission, and national defense has woven it into the heart of modern civilization. As nations accelerate decarbonization and digital expansion, consumption is rising faster than the mining industry can supply it. Governments now appear intent on protecting their own silver reserves, a trend that mirrors earlier geopolitical battles over oil and rare earth elements. With both the US and China treating silver as a national asset, a worldwide supply race is taking shape. Restrictive export policies, shrinking inventories, and escalating strategic stockpiling suggest a profound shift in global resource dynamics.
Well, I think it means a lot for the LBMA. It because of this, and because the move to classify silver as a resource of national interest, that's China. And then you add the U.S. putting it on the critical mineral list, which means they too can curtail exports. The president can do it without congressional order. And then you look at the essential role of silver in solar panels, electric vehicles, semiconductors, defense, you name it. I think what it really does is it shows that both countries are viewing silver as a strategic asset. It's not a commodity anymore. And, I think you're looking at a potential supply crisis and rising strategic value. What starts out as a trickle turns into much more than that. And, the people watching this show and listening to others in the industry who talk about this are way ahead of the curve and think, well, geez, everyone knows this. But walk outside your bubble and talk to anyone who's well-read reading the wrong stuff, mind you, they won't have any idea about any of this. And so we're a ways away from that moment where it turns into a stampede. But it will curtail, I believe, it will curtail supply. And in a market like silver that is so massively rehypothecated at the upper levels, meaning the same contract is sold over and over and over and over again, creating a real problem. Remember, the market cap of silver is the size of a pinhead. And you throw a bunch of money at it, and it doesn't just go up, it explodes higher. This is what they've been trying to hold back. And I think that the big money across the globe understands this. I think they understand that this is a rush to a quiet rush to accumulate the resources. And I think they know that that if they don't do this, they being all of the governments, and really work hard at protecting their own supply chains and their own strategic stockpiles, silver is a necessary element. It's necessary in moving energy. It's necessary in moving civilizations. As dramatic as that sounds, there is no element on the planet that conducts heat and electricity better than silver. People say copper. Copper's too slow. Copper's going up too. It's reclassified. But silver is a needed element. It is critical. And I think it will start to affect the supply chain. I think people take for granted for far too long how easy it is to get silver. I talk to people all around the world who have a next to impossible time of getting it all around the world. I get emails every day saying it's impossible to find silver, So it's been something we've taken for granted here in the U.S. I could see that rapidly changing if all of the governments start to say, hey, we better get into a protectionism type of mode and not sell this to the United States and to North America. Let's take care of our own first. And you could argue that's what the U.S. is doing right now.
Behind the scenes, demand for physical silver is surging in ways most consumers never notice. While many markets report shortages, U.S. buyers still enjoy relatively easier access. But that advantage may disappear if countries prioritize their own supply chains. For a metal essential to renewable energy, power grids, communications, and emerging technologies, scarcity could trigger lasting price pressure. Silver's tiny market size means even modest capital inflows can ignite explosive rallies. As governments, corporations, and investors quietly prepare for a new era of resource competition, silver's role is rapidly transforming from industrial metal into a cornerstone of global stability.